A lot of the time here on the channel, we make videos focusing on players that you should go and buy in FM23. However, today's going to be the opposite of that. We're going to be looking at players that you should avoid at all costs. Don't sign these guys. I'll tell you the reasons why during the video. But with that being said, we've got 10 to get into. So let's run the intro and get right into it. Hello everyone, Jake here for FMSCOUT, and as mentioned today, we'll be looking at players that you should avoid in FM23. Now you might have some very specific success cases with these players, but more often than not, these players will not be beneficial to you when you sign them, whether it be because a player is injury prone or not consistent or doesn't like big matches, or sometimes a combination of all three. We've tried to highlight those players in today's video, so don't forget to like it if you enjoy, subscribe for more, and let me know in the comments which player you would avoid at all costs in FM23. Give me the story as to why as well, because I think that'll make quite an interesting read. We've got a team of 10, so let's get right in to player number 1. We're going to start off with the Algerian right back or wing back playing for Nice in the French divisions, Yousef Atal. Now this 26-year-old, looking at him, looks like he has some very nice well-rounded attributes. He looks like he should be good in game, and there have been times where in a rebuild video, let's say, I have signed this guy, and he never quite reaches the heights that you expect him to, and I think I now know why. If we use the Football Manager in-game editor to go behind the scenes, we're going to show the reasons. Now I won't show this for every single player, but just to show you what I'm basing this off, if we go into here and go into edit player attribute details, you will see some hidden attributes that the game doesn't show you without having an editor. One of which is injury proneness, out of 20. The fact that Yousef Atal has 16 here suggests that he's going to be injured a lot of the time, and he's not going to help your side when he's on the injury table 24/7. But I'll also be looking at important matches and consistency. Consistency is how often a player actually plays to the attributes that you see on screen. Now 10 is fairly average, a bit on the lower side for a high caliber player such as Yousef Atal, but his important matches being 4 is not great at all. If you combine the 3, the consistency, the important matches and the injury proneness, you can see why he wouldn't be a great signing to make. Again, you might have a specific success case where he worked out, but to pay £10 million for a guy who's often going to be on the injury table, his attributes aren't phenomenal by any stretch already. He's 26, so he's probably not going to grow all that much, not consistent, not good in big games. I'd avoid this guy. It's a similar situation for new Sporting CP signing Jeremy Saint-Just, a 25-year-old Dutch central defender who joined from, I want to say Mainz, I think it was, yes, Mainz, in the most recent season. And you can see last year for his club, he only played 8 games due to an injury. Since then, he's picked up a few injuries here and there, and despite him being quick and strong with good passing and tackling, he looks like a very good central defender, and he might be good for Sporting. Personally, I would not go out of your way to sign this guy. Now his consistency in important matches are fine, but if we look at his injury proneness, it's at a rating of 18. I mean, he starts, you'll say, with an injury anyway, and I can imagine he's just going to pick up constant injuries throughout the season. Obviously, when it does come to injuries, you can do things to monitor a player's injury record and try and keep them fit, but quite often it is hard to stay on top of that. And I mean, Saint-Just here, he's only 25, and look at how many injuries he's had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major injuries and a bunch of moderate injuries. He's missed plenty of game time over the last couple of years, and I would not take the risk personally in signing him. On to player number 3, but before we talk about him, I'd like to let you guys know I do have my own channel linked in the description down below where we have a Leicester save going on currently. We've also got some one-off rebuilds coming up as well, so if you're into that kind of thing, head on over to the channel, hit the subscribe button, check a few videos out, and based on what other people have said, I do think you would really enjoy it, so thank you to anyone who goes and does that. But we're looking at our next player here, and it's 24-year-old Dutch international Timothy FosuMensah, who left Manchester United a few years ago for a pretty small fee to join Bayer Leverkusen, where, as you can see, he hasn't racked up too many appearances. He's also not worth that much despite being considered a regular starter. And can you hazard a guess as to why that is? Let's go over to his injury record, and you can see he has had some major injuries over the last couple of years. He was out for 8 months. He comes back, he plays a bit of football, and then he's out for another 10 months with damaged cruciate ligaments, and you can see the direction this guy is going to go in. He's extremely injury prone. He's also got a 10 for consistency and a 7 for important matches, and I know maybe a lot of people wouldn't go out of their way to sign FosuMensah, But for these attributes at 2 million, it does look like a good deal, particularly when he's only 24 years of age. But with those hidden attributes, I think it's best to steer clear. And our final defender is Phil Jones. And I know a lot of you are going to be thinking, I'm never going to sign Phil Jones, Jake. Why are you even telling me to avoid him? Well, the thing is, at the end of your first season in FM23, he'll nearly always get released by Manchester United and be available as a free agent to pick up on a free deal. And when you look at him, at 30 years of age, I know his physicals aren't great, but he is strong, he's good in the air, his vision's pretty low, so I wouldn't make him a ball player. But if we're talking about specifically a central defender, he isn't that bad. And if you were looking for someone on a free deal, maybe if you were in the Championship, let's say, I think you could do a lot worse than Phil Jones. But as we all know, Phil Jones's career has been absolutely destroyed by injuries. I mean, you can see it here. It doesn't look great. He was out for 17 months at one point. He actually has a good rating in important matches of 14, but with 18 injury proneness at the age of 30, probably going to ask for quite a bit of wage as well. I wouldn't really take the punt on Phil Jones. As much as it would be nice to give this guy a whole new rebirth of his career, I just don't think it's worth taking that risk. Moving into the midfield, and I do want your guys' help with this one. If anyone knows anything specific about Stefano Sensi in real life, let me know, because you look at him and you think, okay, Inter Milan clearly don't favour him too much anymore. He's on loan. His attributes look quite good, even though his physicals aren't great. Everything else looks great. 9 appearances for the Italian national team with 3 goals, only 26. Lots of time left in his career. He looks like a great choice. Now, if you go to his injury history, I mean, he's had 2 major injuries, but overall it's only kept him out for a total of what, like less than half of a year across the course of his whole career, if FM is to be believed and this is accurate. Yet if I do go into the hidden attributes in the game and we go down to his injury proneness, can anyone explain to me why it's at a rating of 20? I don't know why or what's happened to him that has meant that he's got this 20 injury proneness rating. Maybe it's a glitch, maybe there is something with him in real life where he does get injured and FM just haven't got it listed in the game. But even so, that's the clear reason why we want to steer clear of Stefano Sensi. A very good playmaker, but by the looks of it, he's only going to play once or twice a whole season. Our other central midfield option is Corentin Tolisso. Now, last year he was a much more appealing purchase because he was being let go by Bayern Munich. Now, though, he is a new player at Lyon and considered an important player over there. I don't think many people would go for him for that reason, because he's only just signed, 27 years of age. Most people would probably steer clear. But just in case there was anyone considering signing to Lisso, a very versatile midfielder with some great attributes, I would not do it. He's got an injury proneness rating of 17, again another one who has spent a lot of his career on the sidelines and is likely going to do the same for you in your saves. Unless you are playing as Leon and he's in your team straight away, I wouldn't really go for this guy or give him the chance. 4 players left to go now, and make sure you do stick with us because there's some really surprising choices, particularly with one of the strikers who I think always looks good in FM but never performs for me, and now I know why, but we'll get to him in a few seconds. Right now though, we are focusing on Brazilian 25-year-old wide player David Neves of Benfica currently. He did play for Ajax, he went to Shakhtar and then was picked up by Benfica for only 13 million. They look to have got themselves a pretty good deal. A 25-year-old with years left in the tank, great physical, technical and mental attributes. He looks like he should be the real deal, and maybe one that in your saves you might be thinking about buying a year or 2 down the line when he's starting to perform well for Benfica. Now, David Neres is not injury prone and he's actually pretty decent in important matches, but when it comes to his consistency, he only has a rating of 8 out of 20. Now, that is particularly low when we're talking about a player playing in a Champions League side. If you don't know about consistency, a lot of people think it doesn't make a big difference, but I've explained it before. But just to let you know, when a player has high consistency, it doesn't mean that he'll be better more often. It just means that he will play to the attributes that you see on screen on a regular basis, whereas an inconsistent player, so say David Neres with an 8 out of 20 consistency, you can kind of imagine it as 8 out of 20 games that he plays, he will play to these attributes, and for all the other games, he won't actually be playing to the attributes that you see, and in game maybe his 18 dribbling is actually being reflected as say a 14, 15 dribbling. I don't know the exact detailed science, but what we have seen on plenty of occasions is these players with high consistencies will be the ones that across the course of a season get that 7 average match rating, 7.1, 7.2, and the guys with low consistency most of the time aren't going to perform well, and once in a blue moon will score you a goal, and for that reason I would avoid David Neres. Now, this this one does break my heart a bit because he's one of my favourite players of all time, Eden Hazard of Real Madrid. Now, if you've played FM this year, you've likely seen that Real Madrid don't extend his contract past this 2024 year, and often you can pick him up on an approach to sign deal. Usually Madrid will transfer list him pretty early on as well for quite a small fee, and he looks so tempting because as much as we know he's been injury prone in real life, his attributes still look phenomenal. He looks like he could still be an amazing player, and I'm sure he could be in your save if done right, but realistically, for the wages he's going to command, I would avoid him because he has an extremely high injury proneness rating. At Chelsea, he was very rarely injured, but at Real Madrid, it seems to have all gone wrong for him. Injuries constantly, and I would not go for Eden Hazard. By the time you're able to get him, he's going to be 32, 33 with only a couple years left on inflated wages, and will probably spend a lot of the time on the injury table. I've been tempted to pick him up myself, but I'm steering clear, and I suggest you guys do as well. On to our two strikers now, and this one was the one that really surprised me but also made so much sense when I thought about it. It's Bruno Pekkovic of Dinamo Zagreb out in Croatia. Now, whenever you look at this guy, or at least whenever I do, I see the perfect striker here. I mean, if we look at him as a deep line forward or a complete forward, he's got everything that you'd want. He's strong, he's fairly quick, he's great in the air, great teamwork, great vision, great penalties, technique and passing, so he can do that side of the game really well. 18 flair, which you might not expect for a man who's 6'4", great heading, good finishing, dribbling and first touch. He looks like he should be the real deal up front with a bunch of player traits as well, but he never seems to work out for me, and I've done rebuilds where I've signed him to be our starting striker, simulate a year ahead, and he scores like 1 goal in 30 games, and I always wonder why that is. I'm sure you guys could certainly get a tune out of him, particularly if you're really hands-on with your management of him, give him specific player instructions and all of that good stuff. But we can see there's Premier League clubs interested in him here, but I just don't think he would be good enough. And the reason is, and the reason I think he always plays poorly in my saves, is that he has a 5 rating for consistency. His important matches aren't too good either, but that consistency rating is extremely low, and it means most of the time he won't actually be playing at the level that we can see here. 3 times out of 4, he's actually going to be playing at a downgraded version of himself in game, and that's why he's often so disappointing and doesn't do as good as we think he should, because he has the attributes, he just has really poor hidden mental attributes that are affecting his game. And our final player is a fan favourite of years gone by, Maximiliano Romero, who is on loan from PSV, and he's spending this season at Racing Club out in Argentina. Now, this guy had so much potential, and he's actually got an optional future fee to join Racing Club, where they might actually activate that, because for £2 million, I'd actually say his attributes are certainly worth it, and he could score goals at a decent level. I'm imagining as a high-level championship striker, Romero could still bag maybe even lower-level Premier League when he's had a little bit of time to develop, because there is actually still some potential there for Maximiliano. But unfortunately, he's got what I call the unholy trinity of hidden attributes: extremely high injury proneness rating, not super consistent at a rating of 10, and his important matches are at a rating of 9, meaning more often than not, he's going to disappoint you, he won't be worth signing, and I think you should steer clear. So there you go, everybody. That is 10 players that I think you should avoid in FM23. I know some of you might be thinking, I never planned on signing any of those guys, Jake. Well, good for you, you're in the clear, but if you ever come across them or ever think they might make good signings, don't do it. They're going to either disappoint you or spend most of the time on the injury table. If you have found this useful, drop a like on the video, subscribe for more, and check out my channel linked in the description. Let me know your most disappointing player so far in FM23 in the comments down below. But most of all, have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.